So, Joey, there were certain pockets of strength in your business. You reported revenue growth even in April for Match, for Vimeo, as well as Dotdash. What are you doing to make sure that that growth is sustained beyond just this stay-at-home period right now?
I think we're lucky in some of those businesses. I know we're lucky in some of those businesses in that they can really function, and some of them function particularly well in this environment. When you look at dating, people are really looking for companionship. They're looking for ways to interact with people, and they can do that on their devices, even if they can't do that physically. In the case of Vimeo, we've been saying for a very long time, we think that every small business, every enterprise, every entity needs video as a tool to communicate. We're seeing that right now across everything in spades. And Vimeo offers the tools for people to do that. So we're seeing exceptional growth. What we actually think or hope is that this environment shows people that these kinds of tools are sustainable, they are necessary, even when the physical world returns, that you're going to want to supplement that physical access to people with a virtual access to people. And I think platforms like Match, platforms like Vimeo, and even platforms like Dotdash can do that.
Now, of course, the advertising parts of your business are suffering right now, and you have said that the second quarter is going to be much worse than the first. What are you seeing so far in April and early May, and what is your outlook, not just for the second quarter, but for the rest of the year?
Yeah, I don't think we said much worse, but we did say the second quarter would likely be tougher than the first, just because the first quarter, more than 2/3 of it was pre-COVID. I think that we're pleasantly surprised by what we're seeing right now. Through April, we published the data, and that's continued, or in some cases even improved through May, where demand has returned in the case of Angie Home Services, or started to return in a more meaningful way. And we really can't predict where it goes from here. There's arguments that perhaps in things like home services, that there's a lot of demand that was pent up for a while that's finally coming out as some of the restrictions are loosened, or just people in their homes are realizing they're not spending money on other things. They want to spend money in their homes. We don't really know what all that is going to look like. But what we do know is that the general long-term trend of doing these things digitally, doing these things in a contactless way, doing these things in a more convenient way, I think is likely to sustain. But I'm probably more focused on or concerned about what's happening with the broader economy and potential recession and consumer spending and things like that than I am with the specific kind of, as it relates to our business, the impact of the shelter in place right now.
Now, you have talked a lot in the past about the challenges of competing with Google and Facebook. Now, as you look at an advertising industry overall that's in decline, do you think that those giants will gain even more during this crisis and make it even harder to compete?
Look, certainly Google's not going away in this crisis. Facebook isn't going away in this crisis. And a lot of businesses will go away. And that means that they will be stronger because there will just be less competition. Now, I'm hopeful that environments like these create new opportunities for new innovation and new companies to come along with great new ideas in this framework that we're in right now, and change the landscape. But those companies have a lot of power concentrated in them right now, and this situation will exacerbate that.
Hey, Joey, it's John Fort. Over the past decade, IAC's been building a portfolio in e-commerce, video, and home services, and at least 2 out of the 3 of those seem to be doing just fine during this crisis so far. But I'm wondering about home services, whether it's Angie or Care.com, what can IAC do to position the businesses, the workers on those platforms to more quickly recover, increase customer confidence in letting the professionals into their homes?
Yeah, John, it's a great question. We're spending a huge amount of time thinking about that. Of course,
it seems at least you're back. We lost you for a moment, Joey. Please go ahead from the top.
Yeah, we're certainly looking at what the right protocols are, like, for example, people wearing gloves and people wearing masks and things like that, finding out access to tests, figuring out tools where we can show whether people have been tested and things like that. We're experimenting with all of those things. But one of the things that our platforms do is generally reduce the field of contact. So enable contactless payments, enable contactless interviews, so you can choose the right service provider so that in the end there's not 3 people coming into your house, or choose the right care provider over the video so there's not 3 people you're interviewing, but there's 1 coming in, and you can try and establish that level of trust with the 1 individual, and try and establish that level of protocols. What protocol is your family comfortable with, and is that provider going to be able to adhere to those protocols, and the 2 sides interacting on that in a way that gets each other comfortable. I think that's going to be important in our businesses, and I think that's going to be important in all businesses or all people in terms of how they interact and how they choose to interact with others.